we're going to need to move on, guys. What we're going to do is very quickly race through injuries. I'll race through that. While I'm racing through that, have a quick thought. From each of you, I'm going to ask you 2 players that you think are absolute must-haves to get on, and one who is a must-avoid. And then we'll jump into the soapbox quickly for a rant on Billy Slater's karate kick. So while you boys are thinking about that, we'll have a quick look at injuries and suspensions. Kurt Gidley, obviously not named in the team list this week, so he's out again. The obvious one, Richie Faoso, is out for a grade 3 dangerous contact charge. Word is he will be challenging it, so he will be facing at least 1 week and potentially up to 4. So he's out this week, but definitely keep an eye on team list and keep an eye on NRL.com for the news on what happens with Richie Faoso's defence. Gidley, the man of glass, we don't know when he's going to be back. We know he's not named this week. It's reportedly a calf issue. And obviously we know with Keith Galloway, he's out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. It's probably more likely going to be 12, being that it's a torn pectoral. Lachlan Coote, if you didn't pick it up last week, he's out with a torn pec as well. Josh Maguire, he's out. He's still out, expected to be out for the next 2 to 3 weeks as well, so there's potential value there in at the Broncos. No Kevin Proctor back for the Storm as yet. Ben Barber is named at number 1 for the Bulldogs. He is named at number 1 for the Bulldogs to make his return. So keep an eye there. That could be interesting. Whether or not he'll play, well, look, that's in Des Hasler's hands. And to be honest with you, I would never put anything in Des's hands because he juggles everything around so much. Nobody knows what the hell he's doing, even him at times. Ben Ross, I believe he's taken the early guilty plea for running in with a raised knee. So he's free to play this week. And Matt Gillette, I believe, took an early guilty plea as well. So he's free this week to play. And I believe, we covered the Titans a little bit earlier, but just quick recap. Brad Takarangi came off in the 65th minute against Manly with a hamstring strain. He's in some doubt, but will be given absolutely up to game time to prove that he's fit. Steve Michaels will come into the side if Takarangi's out. And Ashley Harrison, after the Faoso hit, was knocked out cold, so he's being named but is facing potential concussion on the sideline, so sitting out due to concussion. Luke O'Dwyer is named as 18th man to come in for Ashley Harrison if he is forced to sit out. Bo Scott not named in the night squad, so it looks like he could be doing a couple of weeks on the sideline, but keep your ear to the ground on that one just in case. Glenn Buttress again named at the 9 for the Raiders with Sean Berrigan on the bench. Warriors is looking fairly good, pretty much same as last week. Tarek Sims not named for Cowboys. Rennie Matua back for the Eels. And that pretty much sums it all up across the board. So, Banksy, we'll start with you, mate. 2 players to jump on, 1 to avoid. Who are they?
The one to avoid for myself is Jamie Lyon.
Yep.
That's because I got him and want to get rid of him this week. 1 player to jump on for sure is Brenton Lawrence, and another is Ryan James.
Yep, love it. Butters, what have you got for me, mate?
Mate, at the risk of getting absolutely shot, Scott Moore has fleets. I've said it from the start. Sorry, Cherie King, too bad. Scott Moore, from the start of the season, was my Timmy Molson Fleas of the Year award. Sucked everyone in with a 38 round 1. Now he's come up with a 20 and a 22. He's made you $12,300 and his 38 disappears off the radar. I see this guy just being another Timmy Molson. He's just going to frustrate the hell out of you. And if you haven't got Cam Smith and Robbie Farah, you need Cam Smith and Robbie Farah. If that means you have to dump a gun, well, bite the bullet and dump a gun. If you've got your squad together and you have the luxury of making a trade outside of your 17, fantastic. I've got one for you. Probably you're going to say it's obvious, but a lot of people, it might have slipped under the radar. And if you've got big problems in your squad, you're probably going to be really struggling to make this trade. Buy Tute for the Eels.
Yep.
29 round 1, 29 round 2, 40 points round 3. If he only scores 20 points this weekend, he jumps up 37 grand.
Very nice. All right. For me, players to jump on, obviously BJ Lawrence. Now that my point of difference is out of the bag, you've got to get on him. We've discussed at length the reasons there. Look, if you're not on Tahu Harris, you need to get on him now. He's my other one. He's definitely due for some good sort of price jumps. My player to avoid like the plague. Look, in all honesty, I'm not on him. Never was on him. Never sort of fancied the Englishman coming over. But I'm with Butters on this. Scott Moore. Just get off him. Seriously, he's wasting your time. He's wasting your money. Get on James Seguiara if you want to get a player who's going to score some points and not cost you the earth. Otherwise, get Robbie Farah. There's no two ways about it. And we've got to do this quick, boys, because we're running out of time very, very quickly.
Just a real quick chip in on Tohu Harris, so something to factor in. Kevin Proctor, he's coming back in a couple of weeks.
He will be. Well, that's why I'm saying get on him now to make the cash so you can get on him and get off him. But he is definitely coming back. Now, Billy Slater's karate kick, as it has been affectionately called, on David Clemmer. Clemmer copped a boot to the collarbone, trying to tackle Slater while Slater was in the air. Now, obviously, the official NRL ruling is that at no time should a player make contact, tackling or defending player should make contact with a player who's in the air and attempting a grab. Guys, it's Clemmer's fault. Absolutely Clemmer's fault. He should have been looking where he was going. It's his responsibility to avoid contact with the player in the air. And the only reason he didn't get charged at the judiciary, David Clemmer, this is as far as I'm concerned, is that they figure a boot to the collarbone's probably punishment enough.
Well, I'm against that. I reckon, he should have been looking where he was going, but he shouldn't have been put in the position where he had to be looking out for a flying boot from a fullback or a winger coming in to take a high ball.
Look, I disagree entirely, Banksy. I think he absolutely should be. It's his responsibility to be avoiding contact with all parts of the player in the air, and then that is the rule. It is the onus is on the tackler to avoid all contact with the player in the air until that player makes the ground. Now you look at the footage of it. It's all over YouTube and that sort of thing. He's attempting a tackle, and Billy Slater's nowhere near the ground. Even after copping the boot to the collarbone, he's wrapping his arms around Billy Slater, and he looks nowhere near the ground, nowhere near it at all.
No,
I'd just like to chime in here from a player perspective. I'm 42 now, so I haven't been playing much league for a while, but I was a fullback winger from the time I was 11 up till 28. And I can tell you, when you're jumping up for a ball, like that, the whole time from you leave the ground to you come down back to the ground is like a half to 3/4 of a second. And the only thing you're doing is looking at that ball and jumping up as high as you can. Now, if you're coming forward at the same time as jumping up, once you leave the ground, you've got no traction. You have no control over your body. Whatever momentum you've gained going forward is impacting on your body. Whether your leg comes out or whatever, it's completely subconscious. It is just your body subconsciously trying to get whatever balance you need to feel safe catching that ball and coming down so that you're not cartwheeling over, falling on your head. But there cannot be any malice or anything deliberate. There's no way that a player is jumping up and thinking, you know what, I'm going to try and kick you in the head. You've got no control over it. And I'm completely with you, Jay. The rules of the game are that you cannot attack a player while he's in the air. Clemmer was way late to the contest. He was not there in time to actually be a part of the contest. It was his responsibility to basically let Slater have the catch, wait till he comes back to earth, and then make a tackle on him.
Banksy, can I give you...
That was not the case.
Yeah.
Go, Jay.
I was saying I'll give you the right to reply here, mate, because you are getting ganged up on. So it's, I'm certainly not going to change my stance, but I'll at least give you the best chance to come back at us, mate.
I'm not saying what happened on the night was illegal, was wrong. I'm just concerned that these wing fullbacks and these the wingers and the fullbacks can get away with putting their foot in a dangerous position like that. You go to soccer, you lift your foot above the knee, you're going to get penalised. You're probably going to get sent off.
But hang on, back up a second, Banksy. Back up. Let me ask you this: why was it a dangerous position?
It was that. Well, it's not. It is. It's like I know you can't control your body when you put it up in the air. But every single time Slater jumps up in the air, his leg thrust forward.
Okay,
Every single time any winger or fullback jumps up in the air for a contest like that with players coming forward at them, they're going to raise one knee or one leg in protecting themselves from being in the collision.
But it's
They're
not
trained
just
to do that.
protection,
They've done
buddy.
that all their lives.
But it's not just protection. It's not just protection. The other thing is, I mean, it's done in AFL, it's done in basketball. Projecting your leg out like that, flicking it out or whatever, it actually increases your momentum upwards. It gives you a higher jump and more hang time. So it's not just purely about protection. But, Banksy, what I want to hear from you, why was it a dangerous position?
Dangerous position. He's flinging his leg out like 3-4 out, like a metre out in front of him, giving him basically a 2 metre no-go zone, which is unfair to people who do want to go and tackle him once he's hit the ground. It's an unfair advantage, I believe. It's not as bad as something like the grapple tackle or a crush tackle, but it's still something that's dangerous, something that's been employed by every single winger in this game. I'm not putting up the Storm for being dirty again, but everybody does it. And for me, I don't think it's a safe. I tried, after Slater did it, I tried doing running jumps, and yeah, I lifted my knee up, but I lifted my knee up. I didn't fling my whole foot up like Billy Slater does. Yeah, I don't have the athleticism.
I mean, he doesn't fling his foot out every single time. He lifts his knee up most of the time, but I mean, every winger does that. But it's okay. The thing is, I'm still pushing you for why it's a dangerous position. Why is it a dangerous position? Well, because a player could get hit. Okay,
but the player doesn't have the right to be there.
But this is the point that I've been making, and I've been making it all over the Mentors forums, and I've had standoffs with Slater haters and all the rest of it, and it's been like beating my head against a brick wall. The rules state that you cannot make contact with a player in the air, any part of a player in the air. The onus and the responsibility to avoid that contact rests entirely with the tackling player, the would-be tackler, which in this case is David Klemmer. David Klemmer was not watching where he was going properly. His eyes were completely on Billy Slater's vertical foot, right? Because he wanted to see when Billy Slater's foot hit the ground to time his tackle. Now, he still messed it up completely because he's gotten hit, all right, for not looking where he was going. He's gotten hit in the collarbone and then still attempted a tackle. His arms have still come to try and wrap around Billy Slater's waist, despite the fact he's just copped one in the collarbone. And Billy Slater is still a good 8 inches off the ground. So he was nowhere near. The timing was going to be out no matter what. And the reason for that is that Klemmer did not take all due care. He did not uphold his responsibilities under the rules of the game. He did not do it exactly properly as he's been trained. I mean, he's got to keep in mind too, these guys train this stuff day in, day out. They're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars and in some cases millions of dollars a year to get this stuff right. And Klemmer didn't. Doesn't matter if Billy Slater jumps up and does a cartwheel in the air. The rule is you've got to avoid contact with the player in the air. If you don't avoid contact with the player in the air, you should be penalized. And depending how bad that contact is, injury, whatever, disciplined and potentially facing judiciary. And that's the rule. And this is the point that I've made to everyone who's tried to hammer me about it and has, you know, Slater should get this and Fayoto's going to get 4 weeks, Slater should have gotten 10 and all this sort of rubbish that's gone on. Billy Slater has nothing to answer to under the judiciary. That's why within 24 hours of it happening, the judiciary said, yeah, there's no charges, it's all good. You know, there were no charges laid against Billy Slater because under the rules, he has nothing to answer to. He is allowed under the rules to lift his knee, lift his leg, whatever. Under the rules, it's David Klemmer who is responsible to avoid contact with the player in the air. Now, is it any less dangerous because of that? No. Why is the rule written that way? Well, if you look at it, how many times has a player been kicked in the collarbone or in the face from a lifted leg by a jumping fullback? Well, in living memory, I think I can think of twice. There was one with a, I think it was Todd Payton or something, the general. Todd Patton. Is it Todd? Who used to play for the Bulldogs. Fairly recently after the rule came in. And he took a bloke out with a knee. But the bloke was trying to attempt an illegal tackle. So in what's that, 8-9 years of football, tens of thousands of bomb catches and all the rest of it, a player has copped an errant knee or boot twice. And both times they shouldn't have been there in the first place under the rules anyway. Is it dangerous? Yes. But the risk of injury and the risk of being damaged or whatever is far less with the rule written this way than if it was written the other way, that a player jumping in the air cannot raise his foot.
Yeah, that is correct. But all I'm saying, I'm okay with raising the knee, because you got to raise your knee, you got to balance yourself out somehow. But like chucking your studs out in front of you, that's a different story. That's using something that's not on your body and using it to not intentionally cause damage, but to potentially cause damage.
I think Slater, or let's just get away from who the player is, because I think, as you said, Jay, there's a lot of stuff that comes into this based on people hating the player rather than the actual circumstances.
Yeah.
I think the defending player, the rule's quite clear that when the defending player is in the air, that there is a bubble around that player unless you are legitimately in the contest.
Yeah.
He has full rights to his personal space in the air unless you are legitimately in there, on time, and legitimately contesting the ball.
Absolutely.
Clemmer's encroached on that bubble and copped a boot in the face for it. Tough luck.
Well, this is the thing. It wasn't even in the face. It was in the collarbone. And you know, the face sounds far more sensational. And yeah, but that's it. I think it is dangerous.
If it was the arm and Slater got flipped and landed on his head, it'd be a completely different story. And Clemmer would be looking at 4 weeks out of the game. Minimum.
And this is the thing. Yeah, I would be thinking 12. But I think, you know, this is something that people disagree, like, or forget. But Banksy, I mean, look, I do agree with you in principle that raising the foot like that is dangerous. I think that, particularly if we have another incident this year of it, that yes, it should be looked at as to whether or not they can raise their foot like that. But as the rules currently state, there was nothing wrong with it. And in fact, the onus was entirely and utterly on David Clemmer.
I think it just looks sensational, and that's what the big issue is.
It did, yeah. It looks hugely sensational. All right, boys. Well, we've run well and truly over time, and Butters, I think you and I have just absolutely ganged up on Banksy for the last hour and a half.
I haven't meant to, and you know, I would like to say something, you know, like to people out there listening that think I'm just an arrogant prick. I'm not. I'm just passionate. I'm passionate about math. I'm passionate about footy. I do my homework. If I have an opinion, I'll stand by it. You know, if you come at me with the counter evidence and tell me why my opinion's crap, I'll look at that evidence and sometimes I'll even change my position and change my mind. You know, but I'm just a passionate guy that loves maths and loves footy, and, you know, is just prepared to put it on the line and go, well, this is what I think and this is why I think it.
It's always a dangerous combination. But, boys, I think it's time for us to well and truly wrap up before we lose any more listeners from droning on, you know, for another hour, as I'm sure we both could do. Butters, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming on the show and helping us host it. We greatly appreciate it and appreciate your input. And Banksy, mate, as always, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support and always, you know, being here to input and present a different side of things. And thanks for being the whipping boy today, mate. I know it's not always easy being the one that gets ganged up on, but I certainly appreciate it, and no doubt you're going to give it back to me in spades over the coming season, mate.
Just remember, Jay, who won the game on round 1? Sharks won. I'll take that.
Mate, I'll give you that because we just beat Manly, and you know, we're sitting fourth on the table. Oh, I hope you do, mate. I fucking no F word there. I hate Manly. All right, boys. Well, that's it from us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. If you've made it this far, you've done well, and we can't wait to talk to you again next week on the show. And hope you have a fantastic week in DT World, and who loves this Thursday footy. Until next time, I'm Jay Moneyball Hellaby. You've had Nathan Banksy Banks and Adrian Butters Buttery here for the show with you today, and we look forward